Hi, I'm Jamie Dreyer, and in this video I'd like to talk to you about ganglion cysts. There's plenty of gross videos over here on YouTube that you can find showing with some pretty nasty methods how people deal with it in their own way. They can include people popping their cysts, smashing the crap out of them with ginormous books. But seeing as the medical community has shown us quite definitively that there is absolutely zero long-term benefit to using these methods, I'd like to go ahead and share with you the method that I've come up with in the past few years for dealing with my own cyst. It is pain-free, no doctor required, and something that you can start addressing in the next 5 minutes as soon as this video is over. But first of all, what I want to jump into and cover is, what is a ganglion cyst? So the most commonly held theory out there that I can find about what it actually is there is a weak spot in either the joint capsule or the tendon sheath, and it bubbles up with synovial fluid. Now you might wonder, okay, why? Why is this happening? Well, my own theory is that it's all about joint compression. There's literally the bones in your wrist or your knuckles are being approximated, brought too close together, and it's starting to restrict the flow of the synovial fluid through these structures, and it starts to bubble. Now, it's kind of like taking a really cheap garden hose that's made with thin rubber, hooking it up to a fire hydrant, kinking it up, and then cranking the water pressure up. And it'll start to bubble up, right? You get a weak spot. Same thing with your wrist or knuckles. That's a ganglion cyst, in my opinion. Now, the next question is, why do you have the joint compression? Right? Let's follow it up the chain. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about myself here. For me, I've been able to determine that there are two things that caused the joint compression in my wrist that ended up leading to my ganglion cyst. The first one is all about muscular tension. When I first got this cyst about 7 years ago, I was carrying around one of those heavy aluminum clipboards that you could put a bunch of papers in, and I put a lot of papers in there. And I was carrying that around all day training my clients, and once more, I would even go ahead and write on it while I was holding it with the same hand all day. And that was a lot of tension going right through that part of my wrist. Now, the other thing that I was doing at that point in time was I was making a lot of phone calls and talking and using the same two fingers to hold the phone up to my noggin. This is before texting was big, I didn't have a good headset, and that's how you had to keep in touch with all your clients and friends or whoever. So it's a lot of pressure all day coming through there. That was the one big reason why I feel that I ended up with joint compression right through that specific spot. The other is a little bit more interesting, so hear me out. The other one had to do with posture. And to go one step further into posture, it had to do with the fascial system, your connective tissue. For those of you who aren't familiar with fascia, it's all throughout your body, but there is particularly a layer underneath your skin that basically holds everything together. Kind of like if you were wearing a giant nylon suit over everything, right? It kind of works in a similar fashion just to keep everything in one place, so you're not just like a bag of meat and bones slopping all over the place. Now, if you look at the skin on your arm right now, and you kind of grab it, there's some mobility there, right? It moves around. It allows you to be flexible. Now, when you start pulling to a certain degree, it starts to get taut, and it starts to put pressure, and it's pulling on the end of your fingers and your wrist. And it starts, as you can imagine, to pull things in. That'll start to cause joint compression. My posture was kind of down and forward like this, and I believe that that was actually causing some of the joint compression in my wrist. Interesting, right? Good. Glad you think so. So now that you know what a ganglion cyst is and what causes it, let's talk about what you can do about it, right? That's why you're all here? Okay. So let's go through this really quick and then we'll get into the detail. Step one is you need to figure out what the offending activity is and change it, whatever it is that's causing the tension. Step two, you want to release the trigger points. And then step three, you want to strengthen the antagonistic muscles. Let's get into this in more detail. So, figure out the offending activity. For me, that was the clipboard that I was holding, and writing on and the phone. So I got a lighter clipboard. I started putting the clipboard down when I would write on it, and I also got a really good headset. That started changing that up, so I wasn't constantly putting the tension through my wrist. Now, if you decide or you discover that the activity that's causing a lot of the tension in your wrist is from an activity like working on the computer or something that you can't give up, you can't change it, that's fine. Just recognize that you're going to constantly be building that tension up, and it's never going to stop until you quit your job or your activity or whatever it is. So that means you're going to have to double down on steps 2 and 3. That's cool. Just keep that in mind. So step 2, release the trigger points. For me, it started off with just digging my finger in there where that muscle was being flexed. I started getting in there to try and loosen it up. I also used the stick to get some of the work in on my own. Hopefully, if you have a stick at this point, great, that's fantastic. If the tension's on the back, you can do it on the back of your wrist there, back of your forearm as well. But going beyond that, I highly recommend you invest in a great acupuncturist or a very good massage therapist to work on you. It's just well worth the money. They'll get in there in a much better way that you can do it on your own. Now, step 3 is strengthen the antagonistic muscles. This was the most awkward one for me because my tension was coming in this direction. I needed to figure out how to strengthen that way. And it couldn't just be my wrist, it needed to also be my fingers. And that was just awkward. I couldn't figure out any tools to use. So for me, I just kind of go like that a whole bunch and strengthen that way and flex the muscles. But, if yours is from working on a mouse, then you're always using your extensors so you can really easily strengthen your flexors, either with using weight or a flex bar or something like that. But you're going to have to figure out where the tension's coming from and kind of play with that a little bit on your own. Now, the one thing that I haven't addressed yet is that postural issue that I talked about, where the connective tissue is causing a lot of the joint compression. This is something that I think you just need to go to a pro for. This is who I saw a Rolfer, and I don't even know how to begin getting into the details of how to do this on your own at home right now. So if you think there's something off with your posture that might be adding to that, or you want to find out further about it and you've got the funds for it, if you're on my YouTube channel right now, in the description box, you can click the link and that'll take you to my website. And on the page where this post is, maybe you're on the page already, that's good for you, fantastic. But if you look down low, I'll have a link for the official Rolfing website where you can locate somebody, a professional in your area. On the same page, there's also going to be some illustrations of the musculature and the bones in the forearm, wrist, and hand that'll help you get an idea of what's going on in there when you're trying to figure things out and palpate around on your own. Hope that's useful. Time for a quick recap. Step 1 is figure out the offending activity and change it, or not, if it's the way you feed yourself and you can't get rid of that activity. Step 2 would be release the trigger points. Step 3 is all about strengthening the antagonistic muscle groups. And then step 3B or 4, if you wanted to go a little bit further, you would go ahead and start looking for a Rolfer in your area to see if they could address the fascial system and your overall posture. Cool? All right, good. If this video has been useful for you and you liked it and you thought I'm worth sticking around and listening to some more in the future, then show me that you love me and hit the subscribe button. And to go one step further, if you have looked at some of these other videos over here about ganglion cysts on YouTube, and you found one that you think is absolutely necessary to share because it's either very fascinating or absolutely freaking disgusting, please let me see it. Let me see which other ganglion cyst video is your absolute favorite. Go ahead and drop the link down in the comments box and gross me out a little bit. I'm Jamie Dreyer. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.